Rain robs us of more than half the day's play at Galle Day 2, but there is enough action for India to score at fours, for Sri Lanka to take 7 wickets, and India, having started the day at 288 for 2, are 460 for 9 after day 2 of this first test. Abhinav Mukund joins us on Cricinfo Matchday. Abhinav, thank you so much for your time. Always great having your company. Who's happier
Pleasure.
at the end of day 2? 172 for 7. India have crossed 450. Who's happier right now from day 2?
Uh, I think India are definitely happy. I know they would have possibly targeted a score in excess of 550, but I think rain has put a halt in their plans. It looks like India are driving for the result. You could tell even late in the day, batters playing those attacking shots, Siraj being sent in ahead of Kuldeep. So there were a few hints there where India are trying to push the result, and you can't fight the weather. There is a forecast for rain over the next 3 days, but irrespective of all that, you know how good the drainage or the covers are in Sri Lanka. So you want to try and push a result for which you need to score some runs quickly. And sometimes this is what will happen. Not to take anything away from the Sri Lankan bowlers, I think they were much better today. But this is a very good score if you're Team India and you're thinking, I have 450 with three spinners. I think I'll be very happy. Definitely, India will be happier at the end of day 2.
Okay, so let's go into that because given the amount of rain we come to expect on the 3 days that are remaining in this test, with 460 on the board, is there enough time to take 20 wickets, you think?
I think you've got to think about the 10 wickets first. You think about the 10, and then you've got to decide how many runs you have to play with. We are living in an era where there are teams that are very hesitant to enforce follow-ons. So it actually depends on how much Sri Lanka get in their first attempt. I have a feeling Indian bowlers will bowl much better on this surface. They're quicker, they're much fuller, unlike what we've seen from Sri Lanka. And I saw this wonderful piece by Monga about the lengths that you're supposed to bowl on this surface. There are a couple of deliveries that happened today. Kesara Nuwanta got Jadeja LBW, right? That's a much fuller ball. Generally in India, what happens, that ball turns or just slows down a touch, but because it's full in Sri Lanka, it just goes on to hit the pad. That's the same thing with someone like Dhruv Jurel as well. It was a full ball. It was supposed to be flicked, but it was much fuller. He played across the line, went to slip. So encouraging signs for Sutar, Jadeja, and Kuldeep. But India have got to do the hard work and try and bundle them out. First part of your question, I still hope as a support staff that we have 180 overs left in the game. That's how I
Mhm.
think. Even if we end up losing 30, 30, 30 overs over the course of the next, and you know how quickly Jadeja bowls. So
Yeah.
it's 180 overs. You've got to try and manufacture a result.
All right. Now let's focus on the action from day 2. I think it's fair to say the standout was the Sri Lankan spin duo, especially given the contrast of their returns from the opening day and what we saw on day 2. Instant success for Kesara Nuvanta, the debutant, once the second new ball was in play, got a few wickets. What impressed you? What changed for them? Why were they so much more effective?
I think on the broadcast, we could hear the commentators over and over again speaking about how the length has changed from yesterday to today. And for them to not realize that was a little bit of a surprise. You can put that down to inexperience in the case of Kesaran Wanta, but not for Prabhat Jayasuriya. I thought he was very short yesterday. I think he was a little bit rattled by what Devdutt Padikkal came and did, because he was stepping out and hitting him down the ground. But the minute he was a touch short, he would go back and hit him through covers. And that was something that probably Prabhat Jayasuriya did not expect yesterday. Today, I thought he was also much better, but this is a cue for the Indian spinners. And this is coming from someone who's played a lot of first class cricket on turning tracks. Sometimes I know it's an advantage batting first as well, but sometimes it's always the pressure on the bowler because they are trying to accelerate the narrative of this particular test match by saying we are here to bowl long spells, we are here to pick up wickets. I thought Devdutt put the pressure back on the Sri Lankan spinners and given a cue for what India should do to pick up more wickets.
Yeah, for Prabhat Jayasuriya, in a way, I guess that wicket of Shubman Gill on day 1, even though it was more Gill losing his wicket than Jayasuriya prizing it, must have been a big enough point because a man who's taken what two-thirds of his career's test wickets at Galle, but had gone 100 overs without a wicket at this venue. But eventually, he's now got a four for, looked on course for five as well. On the Indian batting perspective, Dhruv Jurel is the standout name from day two scorecard. He's got himself a pretty intentful half century. What stood out for you in Jurel's knock?
He was very assured of his footwork, and I love the fact that India are taking their red ball cricket very seriously in terms of preparation. It's always great to have a warm-up game. That is one for the experienced players, but for players who are just trying to break it into the side, for someone like Dhruv Jurel, a shadow tour was extremely beneficial. And look at Devdutt Padikkal's runs now, who's also had a fabulous tour. So these shadow tours are something that I'm very, very kicked about. It's an important part of development for a player. Even though India and Sri Lanka are not too far away, not different time zones, the ball's different. The way they play the cricket is different. It's an island where you've got breeze blowing certain parts of the day. You've got to adjust to the rain. I think it's all an experience, and I think Jurel's benefited from it. You could tell that he was much calmer. He was trying to play the lengths of the bowler, going forward, stepping out, hitting down against the offie. So he's a very assured player, Yash. I really like the look of Dhruv Jurel, and I've got a lot of time for him as a test match batter. But he's really got to understand what it means to be a pure batter. He's not the wicketkeeper batter in this side. He's a pure batter. He needs to score big runs for him to retain his place in the side.
Yeah, and perhaps that need was further heightened because from the start of this tour to the start of this test, he knew there was one additional middle order batting option in the squad who had joined up in Sarfaraz. So who knows? Important runs for Dhruv Jurel. We also saw Mohammad Siraj earning a promotion to number nine following his six-hitting frenzy. Not sure Kuldeep Yadav would take that very well.
Um, I think it was more. See what happens between these so-called bowlers is they actually take turns. They go around each other. I don't think the captain or the coach has a bit of a say, but I think today it would have been Siraj will be like, मैं बहुत अच्छा फॉर्म में हूँ तो मैं जा रहा हूँ. I will, I will definitely get some runs. I will take the spin out of the attack, which he did. I thought he prompted Dhananjay De Silva to think, change fields, bring on Asita Fernando, who was pretty leg and leg by the end of it. And they had to make some calls to sort of wrap things up in the end. But it ended up being 20, 30 crucial runs together.
Yeah. Yeah, Sri Lanka has been a big part in the story of Siraj the bowler. It is now starting to become part of Siraj the batter. And this version of the story, I do want to get your thoughts, Abhi, on Devdutt Padikkal. We only saw the ending portion of what was
Yeah.
a magnificent maiden test 100 for him. But getting this chance, making it big, making it count, what stood out for you in this Devdutt Padikkal century?
I think he's just very, very confident at the moment. He knows his game. He understands what he's trying to do in terms of building an innings. I thought the only place he looked a little nervy was in the 90s, which is understandable yesterday. But I think he was phenomenal against pace, very assured in his footwork, understanding the ball outside off stump, using his height to his benefit. He's 6'3". He was very good against the defense, both forward and back. And the way in which he hit the gaps, he wasn't shy of using his feet. But I think there's a lot to learn. There's still a few signs where very similar, right? Sai Sudarshan and Devdutt Padikkal, where sometimes the fuller ball they tend to go back because of the lack of speed of the Sri Lankan spinners. You could get away with it, but slightly faster, quicker. If your initial tendency is to go back to that fuller ball, sometimes teams will start taking advantage of it. But that being said, the hunger to score big, the hunger to just say, okay, I've got an opportunity, I've got to make the most use of it, and just carrying on the good form from that eight or hats off to Devdutt Padikkal. I don't think this is the last we see of him. We're going to see a lot more of him in that Indian Test squad.
All right. So that is day two done. India 460 for nine. Very quickly looking ahead to day three. I mean, there is the ominous forecast of 83% chance of showers from the forecast I'm reading right now. If we do get play, how do you expect things to be? Where do you expect this test to stand at the end of day three?
There's no point in carrying on India unless they want to make use of a certain roller. if they feel that that might play an advantage, where they put on a heavy roller and then say, okay, we have the chance to do it, so let us just do it. Otherwise, I don't see India playing on even at 10 a.m. Even if the game starts at 10 a.m., I don't see India playing on. India should bowl and try and see if they can bundle things out. 4 over burst for the faster bowlers, bring spin on. That's pretty much the template as far as I see. One thing though will that India will be tested, and they have been tested in the recent past against teams that have played well against spin, are good, consistent fielding options close in. If we saw today, even the short leg, he was very, very good. Dhananjay Silva took an exceptional catch, but he let one down. So there will be opportunities created, and it'll be low and slow sometimes. So you've got to figure out your best spin fielders close in, and I hope India have
Hmm.
figured out an answer to that, and that is a challenge I'm looking forward to on day three.
All right, we will leave it there and let's see where this test match moves on moving day. Abhinav Mukund, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Always a pleasure, Yash.